Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of the Spicy Salsa Entertainment Podcast. I know last time I called it Talking Heat, decided I didn't really like that name, so for now it's the Spicy Salsa Podcast. We're going to go with that, and I also want to address real quick that last time I had said that I was going to make the second episode post E3. Whoops, hit the mic there. Post E3 and talk about some things that got announced, which I just never got the chance to do. It's really hard with work and everything, but I'm trying really hard to create content for you guys to upload a lot. So I'm actually going to start trying to do these podcasts more regularly. Basically what they're going to be is really easy videos for me to make. I like to talk, give my opinions to you guys and everything, and hopefully it'll help out the channel, and hopefully it'll spark some conversations and get people interested, because I just want to upload a lot more frequently now, so I'm hoping this will help me a little bit when I don't have time to like record Let's Plays or make like genealogy of the cards, or like I haven't even started on film or recording my first episode of Packs of the Past, which I'm super excited about. I loved writing the script for it because it was so interesting. So that's just the situation of where I am with time. I just don't have that much time. So that's basically what the podcast will be for now. I'm gonna try to do it weekly. Even that I don't even know if it's guaranteed, because I was gonna record this on Monday. It is now Saturday, so that was days ago, and I didn't even get to it then. But I always have I always have Mondays off. So basically this is going to be very minimal editing. I'm not going to edit a whole lot of stuff with these podcasts because it just takes too much time, and it'll be a good way for me to have something easy to do on top of all the other videos I make, because as a newer YouTuber, I've recently found out that making these things are hard. Like, I've been tweeting about it on the Spicy Salsa Gaming Twitter about respect for YouTubers, because there is a lot of time and effort that goes into creating not just something like Let's Plays where I can just talk and play a game, although even those do take time. I know it might not seem like it, but it's not easy. But even harder to create like actual content. And in the future, I want to be able to do this where I can create like even better and bigger content. Like, I don't even have a camera right now, which is why this is going to be an audio podcast only for now, because I don't even have money for like a camera. I can't even begin to imagine what the editing process is going to be like. If I ever get that far. So what I'll probably do is real quick, and then we'll get started with the good stuff. I'll probably be uploading like all of the entire podcast, and I'll have that in a playlist, and then I'll also have the individual segments from each podcast, that way for people who don't want to like skip through the video or whatever, can just click on that and what they're interested in. I see people who make podcasts do that all the time, because for example, in a minute here I'm going to talk about BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, which just got announced, but some people might not care about that. They might just want to hear my thoughts on Splatoon voice chat, which we'll get to that later in the show too, so because that's a fucking mess right now. But anyways, so yeah, that's the situation with the podcast. So let's talk about this real quick. This BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, because it just got announced recently. It was at the end of the Evo. I would assume the BlazBlue tournament at Evo. I didn't watch Evo. I usually don't. Sometimes I'll catch like certain matches, finals, and I love fighting games, but I'm just not that hardcore in terms of the pro scene. But BlazBlue is my favorite fighting game of all time so far. You never know, another fighting game could come along that I really like, but I love most fighting games though. I like Tekken. I like Tekken's probably my favorite 3D fighter. I love Soul Calibur, even though that hasn't been on a hot streak as of late, but yeah, most fighting games I love, but BlazBlue's my favorite. I just love how fast-paced it is. I love the anime style. I love all the characters. The story's really good. I don't have a lot of bad things to say about BlazBlue. In fact, the only time I've been legitimately annoyed with BlazBlue in any situation is when shit, I can't even think of the new one. The most recent BlazBlue that came out, when they decided to not include the English voice actors, and they had that petition, and they said if people want to ask, and people did ask, but they didn't do it anyways. That pissed me off. That sucked. But I know it's probably still a really good game. I actually haven't even played it. I bought the special edition of that back when it came out. But anyways, so BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle is a BlazBlue style fighting game. We already know that Jin and Ragna are gonna be in it because of course. But it's also a crossover between the Persona fighting game, which I love Persona as well, and I love the Persona fighting game. We know that Yuna Arakami's gonna be in it, and then who was the other fighting game they announced for it? I'm not super familiar with, but since they announced it, I want to try picking it up just to try it. It's called I'm gonna fuck this up. Something like Night Under Birth. Somebody's gonna kill me for that, but I saw gameplay for that after they announced this BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, and I thought that looked really good too. So I want to try that out sometime. Whatever that's called, I'll have to look that up because I can't think of it off the top. Actually, here, I'll get it up right now. And then they also announced on top of that, the girl from Ruby is her name. I don't watch Ruby. I don't know anything about Ruby. I don't think there's ever been like a Ruby fighting game or video game in general. Not that I'm aware of. There might have been. But she was kind of like the surprise character at the end, and she was recorded in English, which makes me wonder: are they gonna put English in this game? Because like I just said, the last BlazBlue didn't have it. So are they going to go ahead and do that with this one, or did they only do that because she only has in a minute, because she only has an English voice actor? Because I don't know maybe Ruby, they have that in Japan. There's RWBY. I don't even know if it's actually called Ruby. That's how little I know about the series. But regardless, she was like the big surprise character at the end of it, and it does make me wonder if they'll have English. But yeah, that game is called Under Night in Birth. I don't know why I couldn't think of the name, because I just looked it up a little bit ago. But so on top of the intriguing nature that it's going to have it's another crossover fighting game, and it looks awesome, and I love that it plays just like BlazBlue. The other thing I'm super excited about it is that it's going to have 2v2 fighting, because I've always wanted that with BlazBlue, because I have friends who play the game, and they play it hardcore just like I do. Like, I got really good at BlazBlue for a while. If I were to hop into it now, I probably wouldn't do that great. But I still remember a lot of the combos for the characters I played. So, um, me and my friends, we always like wanted to fight together because we were always fighting each other all the time. And I think the only one that was close to that was Continuum Shift Extend, if I remember correctly. The online mode for that had some kind of like 2v2, 3v3 something fighting system, but it wasn't two people fighting at the same time either. Which is, I'm always fine with that too. I don't mind either way, whether it's like Tekken Tag style where two people fight at the same time, or Marvel vs. Capcom does that as well, or if it's just like you have to wait till the one character dies and then you can, and then it goes on to the next like round. But I think this is really good for BlazBlue. I don't. If they continue the BlazBlue series like in a main series line, I don't know if they will, because like I said, I haven't even played Central Fiction. That's the name. I haven't even played it yet, and that's the I don't know what the story is yet, so I don't know if the story has any implications of them not continuing the main series. There's obviously some new characters in it who could carry the series over. I don't know if like the torch gets passed. I don't know anything yet. I haven't played it. I really need to get to that. I'm so backlogged on so many games. I haven't even beat Persona 5 yet, and I was looking more forward to that game than any game I have in years. So I'm looking forward to that. The other thing I wonder about this is the story, is if there's gonna be one, because BlazBlue has always had a really good story. It is, in my opinion, the best story for any fighting game that I've ever played. Extremely complex, but since this game is a crossover, I don't know if they plan on implementing that, but it is like a BlazBlue style game. And all the BlazBlue games have had the story mode in visual novel form. So I don't know if they're gonna do that. I haven't seen anything about it yet. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. The reasons that they would is because they've done this in the past, where they've created stories for series that aren't theirs, when it comes to like Persona 4 Arena and Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. I would assume they made the story from that game. I know that Atlas like had to look over it and everything. I remember them saying that as Persona 4 Arena, the first one, was coming out. But it was very well done regardless, so I don't doubt that this company could do it. Arc is an amazing company. And like I said, the only time that I've ever been like legitimately pissed was the English voice actor thing. I know why they did it, but it doesn't make me any happier about it, but whatever. They're not like Konami bad, It's a good company. No company's perfect. So, yeah, I'm really curious to see what the story is, but that game's going to be awesome. And on top of that, real quick shout out to DragonBall Fighters, or Fighter Z, whatever that's called, which is also being made by them. And when that got announced at E3, I was fucking speechless. I was just like, wow. So, you've got my favorite anime of all time, and many other people's, and my favorite fighting game company. They make so many good fucking fighting games. Guilty Gear and BlazBlue, I mean, they're all fantastic, like top-notch fighting games. Nothing like, even like Street Fighter 5, none of that bullshit where it's just like, where's all the features and stuff. It's just like, it's all there, and it's a fantastic fighting game every single time. So when there was a lot of people who were like, oh, it's not Xenoverse, it's not really like this open world Dragon Ball thing, but for me, I was like, man, it's a Dragon Ball fighting game. Like, it's a legit fighting game. It's not, I love the Xenoverse games, but it's not some weird like gimmick game. It's like an actual like hardcore like this could be competitive fighting game. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. They tried that with like Dragon Ball Super, and it just didn't really go anywhere. So that's all I had to say about that. I'm gonna try to sign up for the beta when that just got delayed to like August 20 something or whatever. It's in August now. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that too, but Arc is busy. I think there was a third game they had just announced recently too. I can't remember off the top of my head, but regardless, yeah. That's all I have to say about that. So now let's move on to kind of an unfortunate topic, I suppose. It's more of an irritating one than anything because it's just Splatoon. So that's what it is. The Splatoon, first of all, I love Splatoon 1. Splatoon 2 just came out. And for me personally, not being somebody who hardcore goes on forums and, talks with, like, communities particularly, at least, I definitely don't talk with, a Splatoon community. The one thing I've noticed about Splatoon 2 is that a lot of the game is being overshadowed by the fact that it has a horrible voice chat option, and there's a lot of people saying things like, well, we want this to be competitive, but in its current state, it just probably wouldn't be a very good competitive game. And it's not because of the gameplay. For the most part, every competitive game has gameplay problems. Splatoon 2, if Nintendo really wanted this to be a competitive game that people like pros could get in on and be really good at the game, whatever, they have to get over their fear of online interactions. This has been something that Nintendo has for years done. Trying to think, like the earliest they had, I can think online interactions like the DS. It had a microphone, but you couldn't really interact with people. The Wii was terrible online. I remember playing Brawl online. It's horrible. And the Wii U was not much better. The only good online Nintendo experiences I can think of besides Splatoon 1, minus the voice chat for Splatoon 1 though, again, is Mario Kart. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. It's literally exactly what it sounds like, Mario Kart. Mario Kart Wii had pretty decent online, and Mario Kart Wii U had good online. It had everything you needed. The voice chat still sucked. I think you could only do it in between games too. You couldn't chat, and maybe you could only do it in lobby. I can't remember. I never used it because I knew there was going to be limitations. So what I would always do is get on my Xbox 360 or Xbox One, whatever it was at the time, and I'd join a party on there. Or, I know a lot of people use Discord or something like that. The way the Splatoon voice chat is set up, first of all, is ridiculous. I'm going to look up a picture of it right now, because I know there's like that picture floating around the internet of like how it works, or so you have to have, well, first of all, you have your Switch. It plugs into this. You have a jack that plugs into the top of the Switch that plugs into this device that you buy. I don't even know what to call it. And there's a headset that plugs into that. And you have to buy the headset. It's a Hori headset, advertised in the game of Splatoon. And it's also, I would assume it's the only one you could use currently. I don't know. It does look like a 3.5 millimeter head jack. I can't confirm that, but so maybe you could use your own headset. I don't know. That's not the point, because the headset, I don't know if it's shit or not, but that's not even the main problem here. Um, the problem with that already is hooking up your damn Switch to this device that you have to buy for Splatoon, or I don't know if it'll work on other Switch games. If it does, it's not worth anything right now except Splatoon, maybe Mario Kart. But so you plug your headset into that adapter and also the Switch into that. But there's a third thing. You have to download an app on a cell phone and then plug that into this adapter. So the Switch and the cell phone both go on one side, and on the other side goes the headset, and then you have to put that on. And from what I understand, you can only talk, I would assume it's in-game. I think you can't talk during the menus. It's a fucking mess. It's ridiculous. I don't know why Nintendo is so afraid. Well, okay, I guess I get it, but there's a lot of nasty people online, but when it comes to like kids and stuff, you can always add in things like restrictions and they shouldn't be afraid of like grown men going online and trying to chat with other people online. Because Splatoon is, unless they are like so hardcore Nintendo fanboys that they've never played any other console, they've probably played a game online before. They're probably mature enough. It's fine. And the other thing is that if Nintendo is afraid of that being a problem, and this should just be in it right anyways, the ability to block certain people, the ability to mute people, the ability to report people. That is common for, any online game. Nintendo, the main appeal of Splatoon is the online. Splatoon 1 single player was a joke, and Splatoon 2's, while it does look better, is not the main appeal of Splatoon. I don't know what Nintendo is so afraid of. I get that there's a lot of nasty people online, but it's basically like it's kind of like there's a lot of nasty people out in the world too, but you're not just gonna not leave your house. So, and this is something that Splatoon desperately needs. And I remember when they announced this voice thing and it sounded so convoluted, I didn't even look into it. It's really not... Oops, I hit the mic again. It's really not like all that convoluted. It's like 3 chords and 3 devices. Cell phone, the Switch, and the headset. But just to be able to use voice chat, it's pretty convoluted. And I mean, that's ridiculous anyways, because this just looking at this picture here, it reminds me of like a PS2 era online, and I guess not the whole era because Xbox wasn't really like that back then, but the PS2's online like headset thing. But it's just Nintendo is so far behind in terms of online things. And I know that it sucks that we're going to have to pay for their online soon, which is already one thing, because it's like, it kind of sucks to, okay, it's kind of, it goes 2 ways here. You've got to start paying for your online to play the Nintendo games online. I don't know when that starts, so they can improve the online. But it's also like you're paying for an online that's shit, so you're kind of supporting a shitty online to make it better, and it's a little bit like, I don't know how I feel about that, because it's like, I don't want to be the guy who's paying like the money to Nintendo to boost their online stuff until I know for sure that it's going to be good and successful. Nintendo is a very smart company, but online is something they've never figured out. That's actually like the one thing with Nintendo I just don't know if I have faith in. So, I hope everybody's enjoying Splatoon 2. I actually haven't got it yet. I really want it. I love Splatoon, but this has to stop with Nintendo. They really, if they want to, well, I guess it doesn't have to. They always find a way. But if they want to really expand out into this online thing, then, or like as an esport with Splatoon, I don't know. Maybe they don't have that in their plans, but I think that makes every online game competitively more interesting, and eventually it'll just make Splatoon feel watered down. It's unique enough, it's different enough in true Nintendo fashion, but I just can never support their, well, I want to support their online efforts, but as of right now, it's just so shit. I mean, the good news is that Switch games seem to work pretty well online, so that's a step up, because like I said, the Wii did not work online like at all, other than shopping, maybe like streaming or something, like YouTube. And the Wii U wasn't that much better. Mario Kart, like I said, it was pretty good for both consoles, but other than that, like, even Smash Bros. On the Wii U, and that's like the one game, it's like, God, you had to get the online. I wish you could have got the online for that game. So, yeah, it's unfortunate that Splatoon is kind of, I wouldn't say being, I don't know, maybe overshadowed is a strong word, but Splatoon 2, a lot of the attention, or a lot of the stories have been one of two things. Like, Splatoon's a pretty good game, Splatoon 2 that is, or the story is, fuck this headset bullshit voice thing, whatever. It's just convoluted and stupid. So, that's all I have to say about that. I mean, I'm sure Nintendo will have more online issues in the future, and hopefully when, people start paying money, they really do improve the online, because I really want them to. And if they do port Smash Bros. To the Switch, they can't have another shitty online Smash Bros. They gotta figure this one out, right? I don't know. So, root for Nintendo there. I don't know if I can, I don't know when I'm going to hop onto that train, the online Nintendo train, because it doesn't look to be getting better anytime soon. I mean, this game just came out. And it's not like the online sucks for it, but just the fact that they can't even figure voice chat out, that's still a really shitty thing for your online game. Anyways, moving on. So next, we're going to get through more bad news, unfortunately, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. I felt like I had to talk about it because I'm a big Pokemon fan, and I love Pokemon Go, and I'm sure that everybody now is aware of the Pokemon Go Fest being a disaster. I hope that's an accurate word to describe it, because I wasn't there, but everyone knows about it by now. So Niantic... oh, voice crack. Woo! Niantic held their first Pokemon Go Fest in Chicago, and the tickets were pretty cheap at first. I think they were only like $20, but then everybody bought them really quickly. It was to be held at Grant Park in Chicago, and a lot of scalpers were selling them for a couple $100. It was pretty anticipated event. Pokemon Go is not dead, people. Just because you don't see those people always walking outside does not mean it's dead. I remember when they said, it was like after a month, they're like, oh, Pokemon Go lost 10% of its user base. And I was like, out of, what was it? I can't remember. I don't know which one sounds more reasonable, but it was like 200 million people downloaded that. I'm like, 10%, that's 20 million. They still have 180 million people playing it. So don't listen to that bullshit. That's Pokemon Go, well, they probably don't have 180 million people playing right now. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying there's always a lot of people who are like, oh, it's so sad to hear about the death of Pokemon Go. And it's like, what are you talking about? That game still makes a shit ton of money and still has a huge player base. But anyways, I'm off topic. The point is that it was a big event. There was a lot of people there. Some people from around the country, maybe even from around the world, because it was only in one spot, and it was the first ever Pokemon Go Fest. They advertised like legendaries and like catching a really like good Pokemon and rare ones or whatever. And the game wasn't working for most of the time. And I find this very sad and unfortunate, but also kind of what should be an awakening, a wake-up call for Niantic if they haven't figured this out yet. But we'll get to that in a minute. So Niantic, during the event, eventually they gave in after people booed the CEO off stage. They chanted, "We can't play." And I feel so bad because I love Pokemon Go. I don't want to see it fail like this. I really don't. They even reported to IGN just a few days ago and said they were horrified by just being on stage and being there and like the reaction. And I'm like, yeah, you piss off a lot of people by making them travel to play a game that doesn't work. And I could understand technical difficulties, but once again, we'll get to that in a minute. And now, another news story just came out that there are people who attended the event who are now going to attempt to sue Niantic. I don't know if they can get away with that. I think they're attempting to sue them over advertising something that they couldn't provide because it didn't work. But I mean, I almost don't want to say like it's serious because it is a game, but people did like travel and shit for this, you know. I think that in terms of people's financial situation and such, there's for a lot of people like, yeah, this was serious. Obviously the world's not going to end, you know. But regardless, Niantic should have been prepared for this. Here's another thing that another game that I love, but it's just like that one thing that pisses me off. Kind of a similar situation to Splatoon as well, just considering that they both had plenty of time to figure this out. But we're not going to get into Splatoon again. But basically, Niantic, you should have had plenty of time to fix this game. I know that like this is the first time you've had an event where there's a lot of people, and I mean, wasn't it like couple 10,000 in one area, and that didn't help. The servers were slammed. People's cell phones weren't even accessing the game because it was so bad in that one area that they expanded the radius by like 2 miles. So people who didn't even pay to get into the event were actually able to benefit from it, possibly, if they just happened to whip out their phones and play Pokemon Go within a 2-mile radius, which I'm sure there was probably people outside of the event playing. You know, you see that sometimes at events like that. People who couldn't get in decide to enjoy it as much as they can outside of the stadium, or in this case the park, whatever. But so yeah, that's one thing, that this was the first time they had all these people in like one spot doing this. But I think a lot of the issues that were going on can still be attributed to issues that have been problems with Pokemon Go since day one. Server issues, weird glitches, and just the design, a lot of like UI fuck ups and stuff. Obviously here the whole problem was people just couldn't play. That was the main problem. So this has nothing to do with anything like glitchy or whatever. But the point being is that Pokemon Go has had when it first came out, it had a plethora of problems. And people didn't care at the time because it was free and Niantic was trying to just kind of smoothly sway it into the world, and everybody just thought, oh, they're going to fix it, don't worry. I have been playing Pokemon Go since day one, like minute one. I downloaded it right away. Not that that really matters, but just so you have an idea of like how long I've been doing this. And I've been playing it on and off since then. I usually play it for like a couple weeks, and then I'll give it a couple weeks break, and then I'll, rinse and repeat. But the one thing that always peeved me is every time they were like, here's this New Year's event. Here's the Johto Pokemon. They're here. And most of the time it was like, great. When are you going to fix the game? Because, I really want the Johto Pokemon and stuff. I like the events. I like the Fire and Ice event. That was a good one. But I could still tell the game had problems. Not nearly as bad as, day one. They fixed it a little. But the first year should have primarily been used to finishing / fixing the fucking game. And I think that it all culminated to this one moment, and I don't want to be like they deserved it, but I'm not surprised by what happened just based on the decisions that Niantic has made within the past year for Pokemon Go in terms of its updates. Choosing to hold things like events and stuff as opposed to fixing the game, more than likely because it's easier to make... I would assume it's easier to make money, like when the event's going on, a lot more people get involved in the game and such, and it's also probably just easier than fixing the game. So, I feel bad for him. I really do. But at the same time, it is a little bit like they kind of brought this upon themselves. I just have a message, like, please, Niantic, it's time. Fix the game. I don't even want to... Well, I do want to see Hoenn Pokemon, but I don't want to see Hoenn Pokemon until you fix the game. Please. So, the final thing on my list here for what we're going to talk about is Overwatch. Surprise, surprise. I love Overwatch, and they recently announced, I think this was on their forums. I honestly can't remember. It's been a while since I looked into this, but yeah, battle.net and their forums and stuff. It looks like that's where this came from. They announced that they're improving the penalty system for Overwatch, and that console players are also going to get a better reporting system, because I think I don't have the PC version yet. I plan on getting it. Right now I have the Xbox One version, and I believe the PC version has like a more in-depth reporting system. Like you can get more specific and add descriptions to why you're reporting somebody. And it's really weird that I'm talking about, like, the subject is a reporting system. Usually that's not like a big deal in games. It's pretty easy to like report people. But Overwatch has had a lot of issues with toxic players since day one as well. Every game has toxic players. So this isn't something that's like Blizzard's fault per se. And Overwatch is completely, it's very unique in the style of competitive game that it is. In that, like, everyone has all these different characters and they have to balance it out, almost like a fighting game. That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of a first-person shooter MOBA fighting game. Which is weird, especially with Doomfist now, who's basically a fighting game character. But anyways, so I'm not blaming Blizzard for this or anything. And this is good. It sounds like they're gonna add not only a better, like a more in-depth reporting system for console players, like the PC version has, but they're also improving the one that they already have on PC, which is fantastic. Because and I hope it works at least. I guess that's the most important thing. But they said even before they got into this update, whatever they plan on doing for an update that is for reporting players and such, they actually said, I don't know who it was, but somebody from Blizzard on the Battle.net forum said that this would be, quote, effective immediately. And they said anything from abusive chat, harassment, in-game spam, match inactivity, and griefing. You can be silenced, suspended, or banned. So, Blizzard, in terms of Overwatch, has always been on the ball with like balancing characters and like fixing things and glitches and stuff. They're so good at it. Nintendo should take some tips from them. This is just another example of Blizzard being on the ball and just right when we need them to, take care of something in Overwatch. A lot of times they get to things before we even knew. There's so many times where the game has an update and it says we fixed this glitch, and I'm like, I didn't even know that existed. But you can just tell here that they know their game so well. Blizzard's always been, for the most part, a top-notch company anyways, but if we're just talking Overwatch here, they said abusive chat. That happens in any and all online games. So, sure, we'll just say that doesn't make Blizzard smarter for knowing that there's abusive chat. Of course there is. Harassment, a little bit in the same category. It could be worse, but they also said, and this is where I can tell, like, they know their game. In-game spam. They have the ability to, like, do emotes and, like, say thank you and all that shit. In the middle of, like, matches and stuff. But some people, when they're, like, pissed, what they'll do, if they don't have a microphone or whatever, is, like, if your team loses the first round, they'll just say thanks, 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 over and over, and it's so fucking annoying. And there is, like, a limit, so, like, after you say something, like, 3 times, you have to wait, like, 5 seconds, but they just won't stop because there's a lot of just toxic players in the Overwatch community right now. And they're kind of having trouble separating the toxic players from the good one, which is why I think they're really looking into these like bans and suspensions and looking to improve their penalty system, because I'd say like most competitive like online shooters or just whatever though have pretty good penalty systems, and Overwatch's was never really the greatest. The ranking system's already a little bit iffy, and that doesn't really help either. Because it is a team game too. So when you have teammates that are that toxic, it's hard to imagine how they get to Grandmaster or something, I mean, they must be good at the game. They do have to be good at the game to do that, but it is a team game, so if people can just solo their way to the top, it's a little bit like, yeah, maybe they should do something about that. I don't know. But you could be a nice player and solo your way to the top too, I guess. So I don't know. Anyways, match inactivity. I heard a lot of people when Blizzard said they're gonna start banning people from for all these, offenses, and match inactivity was one of them. People were like, well, wait a minute, what if I have to, like, go to the bathroom and, like, or, like, sometimes I have to do something, somebody knocks at the door, and I understand that, but if you're in an online game, sometimes you just have to pay that penalty. I don't think that people have to worry about that. You're not going to get banned for being inactive in like 1 or 2 matches. You know, if you really care about Overwatch, you're probably there most of the time when you're playing competitively, because this is for competitive play. You know, this isn't like social. At least the match inactivity isn't, you know, toxic chat and stuff. That can probably get you banned anywhere in the game. But, so I don't think people really have to worry about that. And Blizzard will review, you know, all these cases and stuff. There's going to be a lot of them, but they've done a pretty good job of it with what they have so far. So hopefully once they improve this, they'll do an even better one. That's just my opinion, though. And then griefing, which, Jesus Christ, people. Overwatch, for me personally, in my opinion, has some of the worst, like, griefing, I want to say, like, in any. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Overwatch has some of the worst griefing I've ever experienced in, like, online games. Maybe it's just because it's so popular right now. So lots of people are playing it. But because I don't know, I back in the Halo 3 days, you know, I experienced it a lot, but I don't know, I feel like I experienced it more in Overwatch. Maybe I'm just not thinking straight, but Overwatch has a lot of people who just go into games and they're like, oh, shoot your nano on me, Ana. I'll take care of this. I'm the Hanzo of the team. I take care of everything. And then they're like, I'm not going to do that because that's a bad idea for the team. And then it'll just harass players and yell at them, and they'll be like, I'm throwing or whatever. I don't hear that. I don't know. Like, I've heard of that in other games, things similar to that, different nature, but because it's another game. But, man, it just seems like there's so many Overwatch games I've seen where people are just like, I'm throwing, fuck you, I'm the one that's supposed to do all the work and stuff. It's very like, there, a lot of it, like I said, has to do with the fact that Blizzard has to kind of figure out how to make it so that people don't get extra benefits from being a solo player, because that is a thing right now where it's like your MMR and stuff doesn't suffer as much if you're playing or what is it? It's either that or like I don't know. I just remember like all the Grandmasters like, well, we don't play in teams of 6 because if we do, our rank's going to get hit so hard at the end of the game, because the ranking system assumes that, hey, if you're in a team of 6, that means you're probably going to win, right? So they give like some leeway to solo players, and I don't know, that just kind of sucks. It's a tough game. Like I said, it's so different from what we've experienced with online competitive games and shooters, really. So it'll take them some time, and, you know, for me, that's forgivable. But obviously, they're working on that. At least the side of toxicity and all that stuff. And that's something that Overwatch desperately needed. I think that's probably either the ranking system or like the leeway they give to solo players or the toxicity have been the worst things about the game. But that's not saying much because it's such a fantastic game. Everybody loves Overwatch. Well, maybe not everybody, but lots of people love Overwatch. So, but anyways, that's all I have on that. And that's the podcast for a week. It was almost an hour long, a little under an hour, probably going to be like 48 minutes when I edit it. But thanks everybody for watching. I'm going to try doing this as much as I can. This was kind of fun, you know, to just be able to talk about things that are going on in the gaming world, and it won't always be all about gaming, but there was a lot, for me, at least, in my life for games that I like, because, you know, I like Splatoon, I like BlazBlue, and so many things that have been announced, DragonBall Fighters, and I just felt like I had to mention all that stuff. So it won't always be gaming. Sometimes I'll talk about sports. I don't know if I want to get into politics yet. I haven't decided on that one, because it's always such an iffy subject. You know how that is. Wrestling. pro wrestling, that is. I'm definitely going to... Actually, originally in this podcast, I was going to talk about Battleground, but like I said, this was supposed to be Monday, and that was so long ago. So, actually, one thing about Battleground. Punjabi prison match, better than I expected it to be. Not amazing. I thought it was entertaining and good. I don't really care that the Great Khali's back. Whatever. Anyways, that's the podcast for the week. Thank you, everybody, if you made it this far. Most people don't get to the end of the video, but I will see you in the third podcast, hopefully. So, bring yourselves on over next time. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Or listening. I guess you're listening. Thank you, everybody, for listening.